The Imperial dreadnought Crimson Talon descended through Earth's atmosphere with the grace of a falling mountain. Emperor Varath, supreme ruler of the Draconian hegemony, had arrived 3 solar cycles ahead of schedule, a calculated move to observe his newest territory without the usual diplomatic pretense. Earth had surrendered without firing a single shot. Wise, Varath thought. The humans understood their place in the cosmic hierarchy. My lord, his advisor Ferret hissed, his scaled features contorted with concern. Perhaps we should announce our arrival. Protocol demands. Protocol is for lesser species, Varath interrupted, his golden eyes gleaming. I wish to see how these humans truly behave, when they believe no one of importance is watching. The palace assigned to him was modest by Draconian standards, a mere 15,000 square meters of polished marble and imported crystals. As Varath's massive form materialized in the grand entrance, he expected to find his staff in disarray, perhaps sleeping or engaged in the lazy diversions typical of conquered peoples. Instead, he heard humming. The emperor's scales bristled. Who dared make such noise in his palace? He followed the sound through corridors lined with priceless artifacts, each step silent despite his considerable mass. The humming grew louder, accompanied by strange rhythmic sounds. Varath rounded a corner into the East Wing's display hall and froze. A human female stood atop a hovering platform, casually cleaning the crystalline ceiling panels that were 30 meters high and coated with Theraxian dust that required specialized nanobotic solutions to remove. She wore simple servant's clothing and had her dark hair tied back practically. She was singing something in that peculiar human language while scrubbing with what appeared to be soap and water. Impossible, Varath whispered. Theraxian dust was toxic to most species. His own kind required environmental suits to handle it. Yet this human, this Maya, according to the nameplate on her uniform, was working the crystalline surface with a cloth like she was washing windows. My lord, Ferret materialized beside him, his voice barely audible. We should silence, Varath commanded, unable to look away. Maya finished one panel and shifted her platform. She noticed a crack in the crystalline hairline fracture that would take Draconian engineers weeks to repair with molecular welders. The human frowned, pressed her palm against it, and twisted slightly. The crystal clicked back into place, perfectly aligned. Varath's knees buckled. Ferret caught him. Those panels, the Emperor breathed, are compressed neutronium derivatives. Each weighs 14,000 kilograms and requires gravity manipulators to adjust. She just moved it with her hand. Perhaps she used a tool we cannot see, Ferret suggested weakly. They watched as Maya descended, humming that infernal tune. She approached a decorative Fountina Zelthari artifact worth more than most planetary economies. The fountain had stopped flowing 3 days prior, and Varath's engineers had declared it beyond their expertise. Maya knelt, reached into the mechanism, and pulled out a stuck gear the size of her fist. She held it up to the light, squinted, then placed it in her mouth. Varath nearly fainted again. She was chewing on refined paradoxium, a material so dense and complex it could only be shaped in zero-gravity forges using star-heated plasma. She removed it from her mouth, examined the now perfectly smooth surface, and popped it back into the mechanism. The fountain resumed flowing, its waters now more vibrant than before. I'm hallucinating, Varath declared. The journey through the wormhole has damaged my neural processes. My lord is not hallucinating, Ferret replied, his voice hollow. I see it too. Maya wiped her hands on her apron and moved to the next task, reorganizing the weapons display. Ancient plasma rifles from the 1,000 Years' War hung on the walls, each protected by stasis fields that could withstand a direct fusion blast. She turned off the stasis fields. Reached up and switched them off like common light fixtures. Then she lifted a phased Kanuna weapon so heavy it was typically mounted on battleships and examined it with the casual interest of someone checking a household appliance. Dust in the cooling vents, she muttered in her human language. She blew into it. The weapon's crystal matrix illuminated, indicating full functionality, something it hadn't achieved in 50 years of careful restoration attempts. Varath sat down heavily on the floor, his tail thumping against marble. Ferret, he said slowly, retrieve our intelligence files on humans, immediately. Minutes later, Ferret returned with a holographic display. The humans surrendered without resistance. Our analysis indicated they were a primitive species, nuclear-level technology. No faster than light travel, no unified planetary government, and their physiological capabilities. Ferret scrolled through data. Average strength comparable to ... Oh no, what, my lord? The section on human physiology was compiled by our junior xenobiologists. They tested captured soldiers, humans specifically bred and trained for combat. Ferret's claws trembled on the controls. But these readings, Earth's gravity is 1.3 times standard. Their atmospheric pressure is 1.4 times standard. They evolved in a high-stress environment, meaning every human is naturally adapted to conditions we would consider extreme survival scenarios. And the soldiers we tested, they were deliberately weakened by their own species standards because they showed us what we wanted to see. Verith watched as Maya picked up a container of Vorthian acid used to clean ionic stains, capable of melting through starship hulls, and casually used it to polish a mirror. The acid didn't even irritate her skin. They surrendered, Verith said slowly, because they understood we were dangerous, not because they feared us. Worse, my lord, Ferret's voice cracked. I believe they surrendered because they found us ... amusing. As if to confirm this, Maya noticed them for the first time. Her eyes widened not with fear, but with the embarrassed surprise of someone caught doing a task ahead of schedule. Your Majesty. She bowed quickly, somewhat awkwardly. I'm so sorry, we weren't expecting you until next week. The palace isn't fully prepared. I was just trying to get ahead on some of the heavier cleaning, Verath repeated faintly. Yes, sir. The Thraxian dust is tricky, and that fountain needed fixing. And I thought I'd reorganize the weapons display because some of them looked like they could use maintenance, and she paused, noticing his expression. Is something wrong, Your Majesty? Ferret leaned close to Verith's ear. My lord, what are your orders? Emperor Verath, supreme ruler of the Draconian hegemony, conqueror of 700 worlds, looked at the small human female who had just casually accomplished tasks that would challenge his empire's greatest engineers, using nothing but soap, water, and her bare hands. He straightened his posture, summoned every ounce of imperial dignity, and said, Maya, would you be willing to negotiate a new treaty? I believe we may have misunderstood the nature of our relationship with Earth. She smiled, bright and warm and utterly terrifying. Of course, Your Majesty. Would you like some tea while we talk? I just learned to make this draconian blend, though I had to improvise a bit with Earth ingredients. Behind them, Ferret quietly began updating their intelligence files. Humanity, he typed, was not a conquered species. They were something far more dangerous, a species that had decided to be helpful.